Jane, asked me what I was looking for, and I said, a fuzzy mixed breed dog, a couple years old. And she said, Zoe. That Zoe had just had surgery for bladder stones, and she had been in terrible pain. And again, like I said, nobody knows bladder pain more than Jack. I have to see this Zoe. And as soon as I saw her, so they let her out of the cage, and she was so sweet and cuddly. And by the time Jack came out of the bathroom, and he was yelling, looking around, and I yelled up, come, I'm back here, Jack. I found somebody.
If you had all the things about a dog that you would like, she's all of them. She doesn't miss a thing.
You just know when you go in there and you see them, that's your dog. I mean, you could see 100 dogs that aren't your dog, but one's your dog.
I was lonely, and because nearly always had a dog, and then of course not having Jack anymore to take care of it, because I was his caregiver, I was in this house by myself, and I thought to myself, I got to have something living or something that needs, and I'm a person that I feel great when I am needed. Mm-hmm. Older people don't want to be bothered anymore.
Yeah.
I think that's what my friends say. I don't see how you can be bothered, and it's no bother to me. It's wonderful to wake up and have Foxy there. They're wonderful companions. They fill that empty spot after, I guess, the children leave the home. Mm-hmm. And since I was alone, I just needed the companionship. And Foxy just worked out fine. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Pebbles and I got to know the residents, and Pebbles learned the word work. So if I say it's time to go to work, she would jump and run into the car, and she knows what she's supposed to do, and it was very instinctive. She would know which residents it seemed she could cozy up to like this, and which ones she had to be a little more reserved with. I really think she has a sixth sense about that somebody needs her. I'm very glad I'm doing the therapy program. It's been as rewarding for me as for the residents and for Pebbles. It's improved all of our lives, I think.
I had a tragedy in my life. I lost my son. And I needed something to fill some of that hole. And I've always been with animals. And so I decided that I would give a few calls around and see if there was anybody that could use my help. So Faithful Friends was the first one that I went to. And I loved everything that they had to offer to me, and so I went in and I volunteered. We were starting to have newborn kittens coming in without moms, and nobody knew what to do with them. And I said, well, I know how to bottle feed, I'll be glad to help take some of them. Unconditional love. They give back 200%. They're always thankful. It is so nice to see these little faces come up to you and look at you and know that they're going to come out and play with you.
The first day that I was there, I was helping with the cats, and a couple from Virginia came in and they dropped off Molly and Mindy. And they said they'd come back for them, but Jane said they probably won't come back. And they were very, very shy. She said they won't do well in the shelter. So I said, well, I'll bring them home, but I'll just bring them for the night. So for the first 3 days, I had them here, and I kept them in a very small room. And I would go in and sit with them for a while. And by the third day, they were starting to get friendly. And on the fourth day, someone called and wanted to adopt them. And I said, I'm sorry, they've already been adopted, and I kept them. When I brought them home because I didn't think I was going to fall in love with them. That lasted just the 3 days. But I mean, I felt sorry for them. Yeah. I wasn't thinking what a joy they'd be to me. It was the other way around. I thought I was helping them, but I kind of turned around the other way. We get a lot of calls about behavioral problems. If they have a pet that's not behaving the way they think it should, their first thought is to give it up. So we kind of try to talk them through that and give them some alternatives. And there's so much compassion. So I can't say enough good things about Faithful Friends.
Oh, okay. This is exactly what we want, the dog that people turn into a shelter or something to say, this dog is driving us crazy. All he wants to do is play ball. That's the one we want.
Oh, okay.
That's nonstop. Because you need that drive. When he's like searching a tractor trailer, he's going for the odor, but in his mind, he's searching for the ball. You got to have your drive for taking care of the dog, and want to do the extra work. So,
well, you're lucky you get to
it's the best job in the world.
Every day.
Yeah, it is. It's the best job in the world.
When she was found, she had bad hips, and they determined that she needed a hip replacement, complete, both of them. And we had scheduled up in Pennsylvania, and once they got there, they really looked closely at everything. They decided her bones were too small, and instead of doing a hip replacement, they did a femoral head resection, or whatever. They cut the top of the bone off in the hip. And they positioned it and wrapped the muscle over it and said she'll do fine, and she has. Start off basically just facilitating, getting traps out to locations where these feral colonies were, setting them and attending to them every 10-15 minutes to make sure that, if once a cat is captured, it doesn't stay too long because it stresses them out. And bring them back to the shelter, set them up, get them ready for the next spay-neuter clinic, and then go back and re-release them. I've just loved the fact that I'm able to make a difference, in these animals' lives, in people's lives, in the world in general. It's just being able to have that long-lasting effect that you've done something that's changed the world. And it might be a small thing, but a lot of small things build up and make a difference.
And then once we found out about Faithful Friends through Randy Faribault, we went down to check it out, and we were very impressed with just the whole operation down there. Weren't quite sure what we were going to get yet, but I was probably the biggest person that was like, when Marie said and the kids said that they liked this one pit bull in the back named Riley, I'm like, I just don't know if that's something we should do. But once we got through and did all of our background check and, you know, kind of just figured out that like this was, that adopting a pit bull was not going to be an issue, then we wanted to make sure that we provided a good home for Riley. And would Riley be good, just as good for us as we would be for her. So I think we've, not only have we changed our feelings a lot towards pit bulls in general, but I think I've actually spent a lot of time talking to people at work who I know are in the process of either getting a dog or thinking about getting a dog. And I'm just trying to get people to be a little more objective about it when they're thinking about different breeds of dogs. Because unfortunately, it'll take, I think, until you really go out and play with one or visit somebody's family who has a dog or whatever that's a pit bull or pit bull mix, you really just don't understand just how incredibly just amazing they are around everybody. They're just really like a big cuddly teddy bear. I mean, Riley's just like,
that picture says it all right.
yeah, just knows to kind of fit right in and cozy, just doing everybody.
And I had a 45-minute conversation with her. Told her that I think I'm the perfect fit for the cat, and how, you know, there's no other person that could love this cat more than me. That's just how I felt. Mm-hmm. And I practically begged her. Yeah, really. You know, I just did not want to let it go. I was going to be really upset if I wasn't going to get her. Like, heartbroken, you know? And then at the end of the conversation, she said, I let her know that, you know, you can come pick her up. I was like, yes. I was so happy. She's the most loving cat. She's so loving. And she always loves to rub up against you. And she licks your little nose. She gives you kisses. Mm-hmm. You know, I lay here on the floor and she'll lay with me. She'll go into the little covers and cuddle. She's great. She follows you. You know, like she'll follow me around the house. I go in the kitchen, she's right behind me. Go into my room, she's right behind me. Mm-hmm. She's like a little person.
And then my son was becoming a volunteer at Faithful Friends. I had to go up to sign papers for my son to volunteer and saw Bart in the cage and just fell in love with him. Just saw him just staring in his eyes and I just couldn't resist. So,
yeah, they're soulful eyes. But interesting enough, they said he was extremely quiet when we first saw him. The day we went to pick him up, he was
in the run.
He was in the run, and we looked at, we walked in and saw the cage was empty, and we saw a pending adoption sign. Then we hear this howling. We have never heard him.
I was like, oh, I don't know. Like, I don't know if we can do this.
He's.
I know, bud. Your buddy's outside?
That's what's funny too. I was always so terrified of what the neighbors were thinking. Bart is a loud animal, yeah. But I've got nothing but positive responses from the neighbors. So that's the dog. And it goes, oh my God, we laugh. So nobody gets on this block without Bart giving an announcement.